Pardon?
The only supervisor update, Katie, we addressed that a little bit about the well closures. I saw in some of the expenses that the well closure fees were $700. I question that because I just always remember seeing them as $500. So you'll
Check with Bruce
check
Hudson.
with Bruce Hudson and
At
Russ
Russ.
and see why the difference from $500 to $700 for that and the closures for cisterns as well.
Cisterns, yeah.
So.
And reading your update real quickly that you gave us, looks like it's grant funded and looks like you have plenty of money in there for the well closures.
For the well closure,
Yes.
yes. So when I talked to Bruce, he said that they never come anywhere near meeting it, but there is a limit to what the state will pay towards that.
Okay.
I believe it's 500. Don't quote me on it. I've got to check on it.
All right,
So
with that, we have our claims today, and we're going to review that. There might be some that I might want to consider reviewing on that. And that, clarification of that.
okay.
Anything else, Jeff?
There was something I wanted to inquire a little deeper on the claims as well.
In the subcommittee.
No, subcommittees, no.
I had DCAT, Quad County DCAT meeting last Friday. Just went over our expenditures and our budget, and everything is in order and moving forward to next year. That was the total amount of the meeting. So, time now for,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes, go ahead.
under other business?
Yes.
I did conclude the report into the payroll issue.
yes,
So the internal investigation is done. I prepared a summary for the supervisors. And this is just a high-level executive type summary. The supervisors, if you want any more detail, meet with me privately. This is regarding the missing paychecks for the sheriff.
Yep, okay. I thought it was the other issue, so glad you clarified that, because I didn't read it.
Uh-oh, now I don't even know what the other issue is, and you got me worried.
People reporting time that they're not working.
No, I didn't think that was an issue still.
I haven't heard any resolution to it, have you, Chad or Mark? With HR on people reporting time that they were not in the office for.
I haven't seen a conclusion with it.
Okay. I haven't either. Okay,
okay,
I'll read that through. My subcommittee?
yes.
Yeah. Is there anything else? I
No.
don't wanna stop you while you're on a roll.
No,
Okay. I have a Russ meeting next Wednesday, the 14th, so I'll follow up on that. I've been working with the Southeast Iowa Regional Planning Commission on Mike Norris specifically talking about some of the services that they're offering through Des Moines and Lee County, following up with them in reference really to what we've been talking about today with ordinances. So we've got a lot of discussion, and there's a lot of ongoing discussion with their interaction with the other two counties as well. And as far as subcommittees, that's it. I got some other things, and we can talk about that later, but yeah.
Okay. Public comment.
I have a question as we were going through this ordinance. So on page 5, number 4A, I just want some clarification. It says that there's a request for reports from the following agencies, and Board of Health is on there. And I just want to know, what does that mean? Like, are you just notifying us that there's a turbine that's been requested, or are we supposed to come up with some report? And if that's the case, what does that report include? So, and then did you notify any of the agencies that they'd be expected to give the reports? I don't know what you want, that's all I'm asking.
I'd be happy to address this from a top level, since it's been a little bit of an area of controversy there. So on my meeting with you folks back on the 8th of January, I asked for some input from environmental health. And so as you guys are the structure to incorporate environmental health, what we are looking for here is some input from the environmental health people to make sure that we're meeting the guidelines and standards. Ted, do you have anything else on that?
No, I think all the other entities there are kind of the standardized, this is what's going on, the permitting process, the U.S. Wildlife, Army Corps of Engineers, if there's any waterways or rivers or anything of that nature, FAA, obviously, we're outside the flight path, so they'll check off on it. If there was something within the flight path, they would report into that. The fire service, just simple notification.
So it's just a notification, it's not something that we need to take on,
Well,
I guess is what I'm trying to
I think that
clarify.
would depend on where it was. I mean, if it were, you know, in certain locations, there might be some concerns that you would wanna share. I don't know what those are, cause, you know, we don't know where they would be or anything like
And
that.
I think that's a good opportunity to visit with Bruce and the Rust team to understand, since they manage that side of the business for all of us. And I know he's got some background there.
He does, yes, yeah.
But I
He's a
think
great
all-
resource for us to better understand what needs to be done. Obviously, they've done it for some other areas, and he's got some experience, as I said, so good resource for us. And I know he has some thoughts on it, because I've discussed it with him.
But I think any of the other agencies, it's just standardized type thing, you know, are you crossing the highway, you know? or-
Right, I'm just trying to
DOT would
understand what
wanna
our
know
role
that you're
is.
crossing the highway there and things like that, so.
Yeah, I think your role is probably working with Bruce Hudson and the environmental team to make sure that's where we're at as well. It's probably the predominant portion of that.
Anybody else? Diana?
Oh, go ahead and let Bob have his
Diana,
hand up
you
first.
go.
Nope, ladies first.
Okay. My understanding was with the public health was when we went to all those meetings was they had the public health put in to it for watching for what was going on when they were building them and afterwards for public health safety, that I hadn't heard mentioned. And as a property owner that's close to Louisa County and Des Moines County, with all the problems that they've had with some of the things, it's gonna be really good to have some oversight from our Henry County, because we're Henry County residents. But what's done on this side can affect Des Moines County and Louisa County because of the close proximity. So I'm very glad that you're taking and looking through the rules carefully, or ordinances, because it's a safeguard and it's for safety, and that's pretty important, being a rural person. Thank you.
And I don't think there's ever been any expectation that the public health department go out and watch them build.
I'm just going by what I heard our, whatever they're called, say, and since there's different companies that are involved with different things, I'm glad to see that they're involved, because that's important. Because it's public safety issue.
Bob?
And that you thought it referred only to drainage tile, like pattern tiling. Bear in mind, we do have some of these residential areas that are building up, and they have their private septic tanks and stuff, which could be affected dramatically. So I think we need to include that also.
Yeah, where it said all drainage style, I mean,
Yeah,
I think,
it should be, I mean, and Steve, I'm glad you brought that up. I thought it'd been swept under the rug months ago about the time card issue.
Yeah.
Was
There's
my
several
mistake.
of
I
us
should have brought
remember.
that up, but that was my misunderstanding.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, I
but
wanna-
no, it's been swept under the rug, like some other things have been swept under the rug, I'm sure. But, and with Katie's input there, I think the county health nurse, if they do some research, they could do some reports on adverse conditions that's propagated by wind turbines. So any input that we can get from county health would help on that also. Thank you.
Who's next? Brian?
I think it was, I'm just curious, and I know this isn't technically a question answer session, so I think it was under the second Obama administration that more people are now living in urban areas versus rural areas, and this continues to shift that way. So with a decrease in rural population and an increase in expenses, the tax burden per capita continues to increase for peoples of the county. Do you have a master plan to try to influence any type of business that can improve our tax base in the amount of 300 to 500 million into our county, so that we can potentially move forward instead of fall back? Is anyone trying to discuss with city councils, with yourselves, with Chamber of Commerce to bring in some massive tax base? I read a great article about Henry County pays $168 per person for roads, and Johnson County pays 45 or 47 per capita per road. And they have a lot of paved roads and more expensive roads, but because they have the population, their burden is significantly less. I'm just curious if anyone has any thoughts on what your plans are to move our county forward versus having it continue to go down, as the average age of the farmer in this country is 58, and 40% of those are 65 and older. So what's the incentive for other people to move into this county or stay in this county? I'm done.
Thank you. Ellen?
And back to this escrow thing, why would you want an escrow instead of a bond? I'm just questioning, because I don't understand. A bond is like an insurance against something that happens like that. An escrow, you want them to plunk $5 million? I mean, literally $5 million in an account versus putting up an insurance bond against the possibility of something like that. I'm questioning, I don't know. I didn't realize I was involved in a $5 million bank account.
You would be if we had a $5 million escrow account at some point, probably, right?
Right, but
Potentially.
that's my question, why wouldn't you do a bond? An insurance bond against something like that? Isn't that an insurance type of claim?
I think the idea or what he was talking about in Louisa County was the ownership of the solar over there had transferred, and that bond discontinued at each transfer, what, two people,
Three times.
three time total owners then?
But those are farms that own ground, right? I mean, the
No.
person
No,
owns, they own the solar farm, doesn't own the ground that it's for?
No.
It's a BLO?
It's lease type stuff.
BLO, okay.
So the question was, is it better to have an escrow or a bond
So if you
so
put,
that it follows?
so if you put $5 million in an account and the ownership changes, are you gonna say that ownership gets their $5 million back and this new ownership has to put $5 million back in? I mean, if I gave you $5 million and I sold my property, I'm gonna want my $5 million back.
But you're
What's
gonna
the
tell us that
difference?
you sold that so you can get your $5 million back, so that we can get the next person to put up the $5 million.
The notifications and.
Cause that's
things like that.
that's what's happened in this specific case, is there was never a notification, the bond had expired, and the county had no access to funds. And they had technically defaulted and gone into a decommissioning state, but there was no money to decommission.
I think this is discussion for later,
Okay.
not into
A financial type
public
discussion with some
comment.
folks, yeah.
A couple of things. One is the drainage issue. It does say in that section, all public and private, so it does include public drainage. So for instance, if something is damaged by trucks and a culvert gets collapsed or those kinds of things, and then, you have the rain we had a few weeks ago, and then a gravel road gets overflowed and people can't get to their home. So I think some of those drainage issues are, that it's not just private, public. The other thing is the escrow versus bond issue. So the Louisa County thing is a good example. Mechanicsville is a good example. Those turbines went down, they had bonds. It was very difficult to get any sort of cleanup done. And so the escrow account is available immediately. So like you said, it went several weeks without knowing who the owner was. Then it was 3 more months before another bond was established. So the escrow account leaves the county in control if the company does not take care of it, and that money's readily available. With bonds, you can also end up in lawsuits, which if you do some research on that, that's happened pretty frequently across the nation. Then you're in a lawsuit with either the bonding company or the owner of the project, those kinds of things. So it just gives the county and the residents and the, neighbors, a little more access to the funds. It also, it's brought up about, bringing money into the county. That would be a possibility, as that interest money would go to the county. So there would be a benefit there, to the financial aspect as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Rich?
Gentlemen, 13 weeks ago, I was in here to talk about payroll. My payroll had been skipped for 6 weeks. The day after that, the problem was taken care of as far as my finances personally. 4 days after that, I learned that the problem was solved, that we knew what happened. It took me about 6 weeks to find out that happened 4 days later. I've inquired. I've checked with DCI and FBI on a regular basis. They say they're working on it. Talked to Mr. Geibelhausen a couple times. He said he had it all wrapped up. He was going to get the information to DCI and FBI when they inquired. Finally got that loop closed. A report was given to you today. I'd like a copy of it. I'd like to know what's going on.
I emailed you earlier this morning, Rich.
Okay, I didn't get the email.
Well, I'm sorry if you didn't check your emails. I emailed you and Robin both a copy, but way before this meeting this morning.
Okay. I was handling calls this morning, Steve. I didn't
Okay,
have time to
that's
answer
fine,
emails.
but don't start, you throw this stuff out there like we're trying to do something.
Hey, excuse me, guys, this is.
I'm not throwing anything
not,
out there. I'm just asking for a copy of the
discussion
report.
for argument.
You got it.
Okay.
Here, pass that over, please.
Anybody else?
Have you heard anything from the DCI and FBI about the criminal aspect of it? Someone scammed the county out of $6,700. Has anyone heard
Agent
back from
Tran
them?
is still, I've heard from Agent Tran, they're still investigating it to see who the outside actors are, because there's several counties that got hit. It wasn't just us.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Bob, you got 1 minute.
I think with
Yeah.
the escrow versus bond, the county would be more secure with the escrow. Just my 2 cents worth. Bond can be dropped.
Thank you. Anybody else? If not, just make aware again, a week from today, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, from 3 to 5 is the new opening of the Glenwood Head Start building. And it used to be the old Hannum's Plumbing. So everybody's welcome to come there and see what our new Head Start facility looks like. You'd be amazed. It's beautiful. So,
That's the 22nd.
pardon?
22nd.
No, it's 15th, a week from today.
15.
3 to 5. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.